Welcome. My name is Dr. Eric Landrum from the Department of Psychology at Boise State University. This is a brief Jing video on how to conduct a two-way analysis of variance with both variables being between groups variables in SPSS. So I'm going to go ahead and click over to a data set and go ahead and get started. So to do a two-way ANOVA with both between groups variables, I'm going to click on Analyze, General Linear Model, and Univariate because I only have one dependent variable in this analysis. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and add two independent variables, and I'm going to use these as fixed factors. And my independent variables are going to be gender, and I have to find these in my list. And then I also have a question here, are your parents divorced? And so that was actually answered on a yes-no scale. I think it's that item right there. My parents are divorced, yes or no. All right, and then my dependent variable is going to be a survey question, which was answered on an agreement scale. I'm attracted to someone with a sense of humor. All right, now before I click on that analysis, I'm going to click over here to options, and I'm going to need the means and standard deviations of the three different answers I'm going to get from this analysis because, and I'm going to just double click here and I'm going to move them over for display means, because I'm going to have to write some sentences in APA format when this analysis is finished. And so I'm going to have a main effect of gender, a main effect of parental divorce, and then an interaction effect. And so there's going to be three separate F sentences or analysis of variance sentences. I'm also going to click on descriptive statistics because I need those means and standard deviations for those sentences. Click on continue and then go ahead and click on OK, and then a new output window is going to open up. It's going to show you the results, and here's what happened. All right, it gives you a nice little summary, the number of people in each of your categories. Here are the means and standard deviations. There's also another way to look at those here in a moment, but here's the key feature right here that I'm kind of circling with my cursor. Here's the actual summary table for your analysis of variance. And like I said earlier, there's going to be three separate effects. One is going to be gender. That's question 191 here. By the way, this question has 1 and 100 degrees of freedom. And so when you write the F sentence, the F is going to be italicized. It's going to have this number 1 right here that I'm pointing at, 1 and 100, the error, 1 and 100 degrees of freedom. The F observed, we're going to round to 2 decimal places. So for the gender effect, that's going to be 6.91. And then we want to know, do we accept or reject the null hypothesis? And we look to the SIG column to figure that out. And we do reject the null hypothesis here. There was a statistically significant difference between men and women on how they answered the question, I am attracted to someone with a sense of humor. And we'll look at that pattern in a moment. For my second variable, my second between groups variable in this analysis, I-149 was the question, are your parents divorced? People answered that on a yes or no scale. And so to answer this one, we follow, and this has 1 and 100 degrees of freedom. So it's this number 1 right here, this one, 1 and 100 degrees of freedom. F observed with our 2-digit rounding is going to be 4.74. And actually we find that we're going to reject that main effect as well. And so there was a significant difference between people whose parents were divorced and who had not been divorced on answers to the question, I am attracted to someone with a sense of humor. But now we want to look to see, is there an interaction? And so if we take this 2-by-2 combination of gender and parental divorce or not, there's 4 different combinations there. Do any of the combinations of those differ significantly in how they answer the dependent variable? The answer is no. Here's the interaction effect. This has a little star here, and so it's this variable by that variable. It has 1 and 100 degrees of freedom, and here's the F observed. There's not a significant difference. And how do we know that? We look at the SIG column and we look for this to be less than 0.05, and it's not. It's 0.883, which means that effect could happen by random chance alone 88% of the time. So there are 2 main effects in this, but not an interaction. Let's take a peek at what that means. And so here are the means for the males and females. And so we know that's a significant difference because we see that in the table right here. The F is 6.90. And so men and women differ. So if your parents were divorced, they differed as well. For example, if your parents were divorced, you tend to report that you value humor more than parents who weren't divorced. Anyway, that's a quick look at the two-way analysis of variance, and that's it for me.